what I was going to do tonight is I want to pay attention to this one verse that we quote a lot. Look at Ecclesiastes. Go to chapter 7. This is actually a verse that it's used a lot, especially when they're signing other people's Bibles and that kind of thing for young men and I use it a lot for young men too. Look at verse 18. Look what this thing says. It is good that thou shouldest take hold of this. Yea, also from this withdraw not thy hand. So there's something here you're not to withdraw your hand from. We're talking about this is the wisest man in the world. God said there's never been a wiser man than this man ever to come on the earth before him or after him. That's including David. That's including all the greats like Paul and all them. Now, with Jesus Christ was man and he was all God. So he trumps what Solomon had here. But this is what Solomon said with all the wisdom that God gave him. And he's telling you, don't withdraw your hand from this. For he that feareth God shall come forth of them all. Now he's telling you, those that fear God, and we've talked about this extensively, it's fearing God and knowing who God is and the power that he has to do what he can do. He's got the power of life and death. He could choke you off just like that, and you could be out of air and can't breathe. He can stop pumping your heart just like that. He can start pumping your heart. Look at how many wicked people right now that you may deem that is wicked as the devil, and God's pumping their heart. Give them one more beat, one more breath, and they're breathing and they're going on. And God's the one that's doing that. That's quite an amazing thing when you think about it. But this is Solomon that's talking about this stuff. And he says, you're supposed to fear God and know who God is. And of course, when you get to know who God is, your fear dissipates as far as the fear of God's ever going to do something to you and hurt you. You have a fear in the sense that, he's like a good father and, he's not going to let me get away with stuff, or I'm going to go over here and I think I'm going to slide by and try to maybe slide in and do this sin or whatever this thing is that you maybe want to try to get by, and you're kind of being squirrely with him. You're not being straight up honest with him. You're not coming to him and say, God, I don't like who I am. And I hate the fact that my flesh is this way. God help me. That's a different approach. But the man that says, I think I can, I tell you what's really squirrely God doesn't like. I'm going to go to church and I'm going to put my best suit on. I'm going to comb my hair. I'm going to shave. I'm going to get my big Bible, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to, matter of fact, I think I'm going to memorize a couple verses, so I'll be able to quote them, if they ask for a song and say, hey, you got to quote a verse before, I'll have a good verse, I'll get all, and you prep for it. You prep to, like you're going into a debate, you're prepped to be put on the spot and then come out shining like a light. And that's the presentation that you want to put before the brethren. I'm going there, I'm going to put on a show, and the whole time on the backside, you're wanting to do some other thing that nobody else knows or sees, and you're thinking you're hiding it, and that kind of thing right there. Now, God get pretty upset with now that you might experience some fear. God says, "Oh no, you ain't getting away with that." But even in that, if He comes after you and tans your hide over that, it's because He cares about you. And it's not like He's going to hurt. It's not like He's going to slap you off in the hell and say, I withdraw my contract with you about taking you to heaven. He's never going to do that. So as far as all your fear goes, as far as fear of torment or fear of something happening to you that's bad or any of that stuff, you don't have to fear that no more, because God is your Father and He loves you. Now, the thing that you want to get into, the more you get to know Him and the more you love Him, the more you see Him that way. And the more it becomes more about, I don't want to do such and such, or I don't want to disappoint Him. And I'll tell you, there's times when you're going to get in the flesh. And when I say get in the flesh, it's not just some deep sin, and whatever people call deep sin anyway. It could be an anger issue. It could be an issue where somebody says something about you and it gets under your skin. What is that about somebody wanting to get under your skin and get you to lose your control and get you to spout out? Isn't that something that they purposely try to do that stuff? But this thing says there's something you should do. It is good that thou shouldest take hold of this. Yea, also from this withdraw not thy hand. Take hold of something and then fear God. So I wonder what that is. Now look back up in verse 16. This is what it is. This is what Solomon, the wisest man in the world, is telling you. This is a thing you're supposed to grab a hold of and latch onto and hang on to it. Be not righteous over much. In other words, don't make yourself out to be super righteous. Don't be that you have to be show like I'm, church going Mr. Righteous Man everywhere I go. Don't be over. Don't try to make yourself out to be more righteous than what you really are. That's what he's saying. Just be straight up who you are. That's an important thing, man. Listen, man, if you can't be honest with yourself, how are you going to be honest with a Lord that sees you and knows you better than yourself? And it's essential that we are honest with ourselves and go, I'm this. Now, you don't have to go and publish that to everybody, just like the same principle applies. Sin against God, confess it to God. Sin against brethren, confess it to brethren. Sin against the church, confess it to the church and God. Of course, everything is a sin. Is everything against God. So you always have to go to God, and maybe sometimes your brother or God in the church or God alone. And you don't have to you don't have to go tell somebody your sin. But this thing, man, about being straight up and being honest, that's like the main thing that God's telling you through Solomon here. Hang on to that. Why you fear God, why you know who God is and know his power. So in order to fear God, you have to know something about him. You have to know what's he capable of. What are the kind of things he gets angry at? What kind of things does he love? You need to know his personality. You need to know how he thinks and what upsets him and those kind of things. Now that's one of the ways you get to know him, and you should fear him. He is definitely worthwhile. But that's somebody that just really knows him, and it's right. He fears him, but he doesn't fear God doing anything to him that's going to be harmful to him at all. Absolutely, it's not like God's up there with a big stick waiting to knock me upside the head. He's not doing that. He loves you. Now look what he says right here: be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. And see, it's not that you're not wise, but you're compensating, trying to make it look like you're wiser than what you are. That sham thing, that thing that men are having their nature to do, and it's usually for gain, because I want to get something from the other person. The only reason why you put on a sham is because you're trying to get something from. Either you're trying to get an accolade from somebody, you're trying to get somebody to soothe your conscience by patting you on the back and say, brother, you're a great Christian. I remember a long time ago, I don't remember the actual thing. It might have been preaching or singing or something. I remember coming down off the platform there and coming down, and some brother said something like, brother, that was a real blessing, You're a real blessing, And I just said thank you and walked off. But you know what I had in mind? And I've had this in my mind for quite a while. The Lord came down on the car lot, and he found me. I was all dusty and old, and just been sitting on the car lot for a while there. And windows are all dusted up and dirtied up, and the Lord come by there and bought that car. And then he said, can you get that car cleaned up? And washed up, and get her shined up, and bring her on down to deliver it to my house, and take your time. I'm in no hurry, but get the car cleaned up and come deliver it to my house. So anyway, back in my days when I was a dumb teenager, I was 18 actually, and I'll spare you all the details, but I actually stole the car and crossed the state line. I got stopped 4 times by a policeman and talked my way out of it every time. Yeah. Now, being in a stolen car, not having a registration, and talk to the police, look them in the face and smile and laugh at them and, make whatever excuses and walk away from it. And that's quite a thing there. But anyway, one night I went to a movie, that movie Gone in 60 Seconds. Now I'm a fugitive on the road with a stolen car. And on top of that, it's bad, but we get in and we watch this movie, Gone in 60 Seconds, and I'm in a stolen car. I come back out. And of course, the people watching this movie, they're a bunch of hoodlums too. And so, I didn't know who these guys were, but they come out and they're like, let's go race, and I was in a Camaro 396. And so anyway, we decided to go down this road and they're going to drag race, and they set us up, man. But we get going down this road, and I mean, we're going fast. And I didn't know, but there was a railroad track down there. And of course, they knew it and they slowed down. Well, we didn't. And we kept going, man. And we humped that railroad tracks. And I mean, busted that front end up. It was bad. Ended up selling the radio out of the car to get gas. I mean, that car looked like it was a piece of junk by the time we got done with it. That's the picture that came to mind to me. Oh, brother, you're such a blessing. And here's this car. The Lord bought this vehicle and said, now get it cleaned up and deliver it to me. And I come pulling up in his front yard with the blinker hanging off the side, the front end, the whole front end is all bashed up. The radio's gone and sold out of it. There's dents everywhere you look. There's dented up. And I walk up to the Lord and hand him the car keys. Here you go, Lord. I'm delivering the car that you bought. Boy, isn't that about the case with us? Honestly, he bought you with a price. I mean, some of you, maybe not all of you, but some of you were bought at a young age, weren't you? He bought you with a price at a young age. And it's a vehicle, right? You're a vehicle. It's a vehicle that you tote your soul around in. And the Lord says, how about you deliver that body to me? How about you deliver that vehicle to me? What kind of shape have you delivered your vehicle to him? In bad shape, I mean, you've done a lot more sin since you've been saved than before you were saved. And you know what God does? He knows that about you. And he'll come in here through this Solomon right here, Book of Solomon says, don't be over righteous. You hear me? Don't overdo it, man. Know who you are. Know your limitations. And I'm telling you, there's nothing smarter to figure out than to figure out that you can't do it. The law here was put down as a schoolmaster. Matter of fact, man, the law says if you break one of these laws, one of them, you're guilty of all of them. And that's how the Lord feels about this law. And he put the law down there to show you that you were a sinner and that you were nothing like him. And he basically showed you now, once you realize you're nothing like him and there's no hope for you, there's nothing you could ever do to come and be in my kingdom. There's nothing that can wash your sin away unless I do something. Now, you can't get along. You can't live forever. You can't be with me. You can't have anything to do with me unless I do something for you. And you're going to have to admit to that and say, I can't do it without you. Now, I'm telling you, this book is meant for you to come to the conclusion that you can't do it. And once you realize you can't do it, then okay, then does that mean we just lay down and do nothing? No. He did tell you something to do. He told you to draw up close to him. Like we were talking about earlier today, it's like playing a video game, and you've got unlimited resets. Like we're playing, I don't know whatever some of those games are that they play. They go in a game, and at level one, you go in and you shoot, 2 or 3 people out of this window, and you walk down and go around this corner, and there's a guy that jumps out of that corner, and you already know that all that's going to happen because you played it so many times, and you can see what's coming, and you learn how to make counter moves to what's happening 250 moves into the game, and you keep learning the next move and the next move. And when you mess up, you hit the reset button and go again. That's how easy God has made it for you. He wants you to play being the Son of God. And when I say play, it's not play acting, but he is perfectly happy with you pushing that reset button and get up and say, okay, I'm walking with God. And that's right after you've done something that ain't right. But it's you having to swallow your pride and saying, I know that wasn't right. And I know it's best for me to walk with God, no matter what it is. That I don't care if you, and when I say, you sinned again, maybe you're dealing with anger. Maybe you're dealing with somebody saying something about you that's not true. And you hate it when somebody, they called the Lord Jesus Christ a bastard because you were born of fornication. They told Jesus that. The Son of God, and he was a virgin born. He was born of a virgin, and they called him a bastard. You know how he responded? He never did. Man, you talk about the Lord, man, and being able to respond, being able to handle things. Getting back to this passage right here, look at chapter 7. Look at what it says also. Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself overwise. Don't do any pretending. Stop all that pretending stuff, and to be as straight up as you can be with God, because God can see in your heart. He knows every thought. He knows exactly what motives you had, and just go ahead and deal with them straight up. He loves that. He can fix it. He can fix things, and it takes time. And the way you fix it, you hang out with him. You just spend time with him. It says, look at what it says. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself? So being over righteous and pretending to be over wise, if you make people believe that you're better than what you are, that's a good way to destroy yourself. That's what he said. You don't want to be straight up. It's a good way to destroy yourself, to make people believe that you're something you're not. And a little bit, maybe try to polish it up. And, they say, put your best foot forward and stuff like that. Well, I'd be real careful, especially the way the book says. This is the wisest man in the world saying this. Don't stop all that pretending. Look at verse 17 here. Then he goes in here and says, be not over much wicked. He assumes you're wicked. But don't get out of control, man. Put the brakes on. When you start feeling like you're getting out of control, man, run with all your might towards the Lord Jesus Christ and beg for help. Lord, help me. Don't let my own wickedness swallow me up. And realize that you are. I love that about the Lord, man, being straight up. He's talking to his disciples, man. This is his chosen men. He says, you being evil, call his disciples. Hey, you guys, you bunch of disciples here, you being evil, know how to give good gifts. How much more do you think I know how to give good gifts? You think he just downright called them evil? But that's true. In God's sight, they are. in God's sight, somewhere along the line, they're not like him. And that's true for all of us in any stage of our Christian life. I don't care if you've been at it for 100 years and it's met that way. You know why? It's to get us to come to the point to realize that we can have no part of Jesus Christ unless it was for Jesus Christ. There's no part of us that warrants Jesus Christ. There's nothing of us. And there's no good in us. There is no exchange as far as, well, he's getting a piece of trash. He is getting, when it comes down to it, he is getting something that was worthy to go to hell and burn forever. And that's how you see, he says, even a little white lie is enough. He looks at that kind of stuff and looks at that, but he knows you to be men. He knows you to be human beings. And he says, all I'm expecting from you now is for you to recognize him and fear him and be honest with him. Don't overdo it. Be honest with him. And try to keep yourself from killing yourself is basically what he's saying. Look at this 17. Be not over much wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou die before thy time? In other words, listen, man, you keep that foolishness up, it's going to kill you. He doesn't want you to die before your time. He's saying, man, put the brakes on that wickedness a little bit, And it's like, listen, man, it's like being in the middle of the line. When you're flying around the airport, you're supposed to be flying at 1,000 feet altitude around the airport when you're coming down for landing in a Cessna, one of them small planes. And one of the tests they have is that's the law. You're supposed to fly at 1,000. But it's absolutely impossible to fly at 1,000 all the time. You're watching that meter and it's going up 1,100. It's coming down to 900, going up to 1,100, coming down to 900. It's just, if you tried to, literally, if you tried to fly and stared at that meter and goes, I'm going to stay at 1,000 feet, you couldn't do it because you're in the air and it's got this up and down going on depending on the thickness of the air and all kinds of things that's causing it to go up and down. But you know what they're looking for? They're not looking for you to keep it on 1,000. They're looking for you to keep readjusting it. If you see yourself go down to 900, push it up to 1,000. You see yourself go up to 1,100, push it back down to. This is what this verse is saying. Don't overdo it and trying to show off some righteousness. I'm keeping a list of 37 things that some pastor so-and-so said I need to do. Don't do that, man. Just do what God said. They ain't nothing better than that. Just do what God said. Now he says in all that, don't destroy yourself. Don't die before thy time. It is good that thou shouldest take hold of this, what we just talked about. Don't be over righteous. Don't be over wicked. Don't destroy yourself before your time. Do all things in moderation. Stay between the lines. It is good that thou shouldest take hold of this. Take hold of that. You see, it's not this extremist thing that you got to mash the gas pedal to the metal and you should do all that you do with all your heart. That's right. And all that kind of thing. But it ain't like it's either all or none type thing. Man, pace yourself. Realize who it is you're dealing with. You're dealing with God. You can work at this thing forever and ever and ever, and you'll never be like him until he comes down and supernaturally change you into his image. Thank God for that. Now, he does get pleasure in you trying, but you know what the wise man will do? The smart man will do? He'll take his lot in life and realize who he is and realize, man, the open invitation for me to hang out with him is just unlimited in spite of who I am. And realize that that's where the power is. Now go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 7. verse 18. It is good that thou shouldest take hold of this. Yea, also from this withdraw not thy hand. The thing you got to grab a hold of is don't be over righteous and don't be over wicked. And that's the thing you grab a hold of. And then, for he that feareth God shall come forth of them all. You're going to, if you fear God and you maintain the balance and don't be over righteous and over wicked, you're going to come forth of all of them. He's telling you the way to win the race of life.